Hello and welcome to School Matters. Thank you for joining us for a special program today. We're talking about how our schools kicked off the school year this year with a special literacy event. And our first guest today is Laura Beaver. Welcome to you, Laura. You were very much involved with this event, which we're going to get to. But first of all, to get us started, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background and education, if you don't mind.
Right. Well, I'm a mother first to two wonderful children who did graduate from Crest High School. I married my sweetheart, Larry Beaver, and we both were graduates of Crest High School as well. And after graduating, I went into education. So after I graduated from college, I came back to Cleveland County, and I worked in Cleveland County as an educator for 30 years. I just retired in January, which was wonderful, but also sad at the same time. There's mixed emotions with retirement. But most of my career was spent in supporting students and supporting families. The first part of my career, I was in the classroom as a classroom teacher. I was an AIG teacher and then a Title I interventionist. And then about halfway through my career, I came to the district office at Cleveland County Schools and started working in the elementary and Title I department. My role there was a Title I facilitator and literacy specialist, and I supported the district with family engagement, with all kinds of federal program requirements, and then also with literacy instruction. On the side, I also have a business. I have a business called Silver Ink Publishing that I co-own with Jill Nolan, who is also an educator in Cleveland County Schools and who is retiring at the end of this month. That company was created almost 20 years ago, and we started out by creating and publishing a children's book, and then that led us into developing other products and resources for school that support them with strategies that help families know how to work with their children at home to support literacy. And so that has been a big passion of what we have done over the course of the 20 years, and it's still my passion. Family engagement is a big part of that, and that's how it's connected to our Back to School Bash.
That is wonderful, wonderful. Now you mentioned family engagement. Talk about what that is.
So it's basically a collaboration between your families, your school, and your educators and community partners, and they're kind of coming together as equal and mutual partners to support children's learning development and then just social and emotional development. It requires a lot of trust, and so schools really have to work hard and community partners have to work hard to make sure our families feel like there is a positive relationship there and that there's also a level of mutual respect. And then also to accept family engagement, that there's all different types of forms of family engagement. And so one of the forms can be as simple as just encouraging your children to be positive about school, about their teachers, and about their peers, to do their homework and to try their best. So it can be as simple as that, all the way to helping with homework, attending parent-teacher conferences, or traditional events such as family reading nights, and then even community-sponsored events such as our one that was sponsored by Shelby Breakfast Rotary, which was our Back to School Bash. And when families do things like that, when they're engaged with their children and engaged with what's happening at the school, we see that there's a lot of positive benefits. So the kids tend to have a better positive attitude about school and about their teachers. They tend to have better social and emotional skills. They're less likely to drop out, more likely to graduate, and then even go on to higher education, which is really important for our community. And so that's why family engagement is so important. And that is kind of why having events such as what was sponsored by our Shelby Breakfast Rotary is really something that we should continue doing, and we hope other businesses and organizations will do things such as that.
Now, the Back to School Bash actually started last year. So this was the second annual Back to School Bash. Such a fun event. Lots of people there, lots of community organizations, just wonderful things, fun things for kids to do, resources for parents, just so much there, and we'll get into all of that too, but talk about how you got involved in that event.
When I was currently working in the school system with my role in the elementary department and trying to support our schools, I started working with Dr. Fisher on developing and promoting an initiative called PALS, and that's Partners Aligned for Literacy Success. And part of that initiative was to communicate what we were doing in the school systems with trying to promote early literacy and early intervention. And that was a big focus for our schools, for their school improvement plans, as well as our district plan. And then it was also to encourage community partners, such as organizations and businesses, to look for ways that they could support either individual schools or students across our entire district. And that's kind of how Shelby Breakfast Rotary got connected. They've always been supporting our students, but they decided that they wanted to change it up a bit and align with our PALS program and to provide books and to provide them through what they called a back-to-school book bash.
That was awesome,
Yeah.
too. Awesome event. So how would you describe it?
I think that it is kind of like a community block party
Yes.
and a mini carnival all combined. You know, there's something for everybody. So you have free food, you have bouncy houses and Dunkin' booths and face painting, things that children are really into. And then there are a lot of different community organizations and businesses that sponsor tables, and they set up tables to provide freebies for the kids, and then important resources and information for the families, and some back-to-school treats to help them get excited about school. So there were so many things that engaged all ages and made it fun for everybody. The community also was involved with our fire department and our police department. They also came in and supported that, and then we had tons of volunteers across our district that helped kick off this event. And it was really designed to target our pre-K through grades 8 students and their families.
And they even closed the street,
They
so it
did.
truly was a
Right.
block party.
It
There was
was.
music, there was
Yes.
MCs, just such a
Yeah,
fun
our MCs were
fun
quite a
environment.
treat. Dr. Schull and Dr. Hunnell, they provided a wonderful entertainment to anybody that was actually listening to them. So
That's
it was really great.
Right. Well, talk about your role in making sure this back-to-school bash is a success.
Well, to begin with, I was just kind of the person, the go-to person to help kind of keep things organized between what was happening, the planning behind the scenes that our Rotarians were doing, as well as what needed to take place at the district office and who needed to be involved to make sure that it went off without a hitch. So I guess I was kind of like the coordinator or the event planner in a sense, but it took a lot of other people to be a part of that. So when I was working for the school district, you know, that was kind of my role. Now that I retired, I kind of joined in with my business with Silver Ink Publishing to kind of help support in the same fashion. But so my role was really just to help with planning, execution. I met with Shara Miller and Ruth Huffstetler. They were kind of the key ones from the Shelby Breakfast Rotary that kind of kept things organized on their end. Dr. Hunnell and Dr. Jason Parker and Dr. Greg Schull, they were involved in the early planning stages and throughout the whole time process of getting ready for the event. And then we had to lean on a lot of people at our district office. So it was really just communicating to everybody what they needed to do, where they needed to be, what their responsibility was, and to make sure that everybody was there to make the families feel very welcomed and know the purpose of why we were having that. And that was to provide the families with some lovely resources, which were some books for the children.
Absolutely. And you have some things
Yes,
here with you
right.
that would you like to
So
share?
this is kind of an example. All the kids received a bag, and that was kind of our role in Silver Ink Publishing. We purchased this to help with the cost. The Rotary received some funding, and of course, most of their funding was spent on books. And so one of my roles was also to help them select books that were high-quality titles. So every child that received one of the bags received 4 fictional texts and 1 informational text for their enjoyment to kind of get excited about the school year. So we had them in grade bands. So there was like a bag for your pre-K and then one for your kindergarten and first grade. They had a bag. So each little set had a different set of titles in it. But then all of them had what we call a home literacy card, and this was something that we also did with Silver Ink to help support the Rotary, was to create a card for them that shared with the family specific strategies that they could use before reading or while reading these books or any books that they have in their home. And that was our main mission with collaborating with Shelby Breakfast Rotary, was to make sure that when the families received this along with the bags, that somebody was there at the booth to explain to the families the importance of these strategies and how to quickly use these strategies. so that hopefully they'll use them throughout the entire school year to promote literacy.
Such a wonderful thing. And then, of course, there were a lot of giveaways and
Yes, yeah.
things that the community organizations brought to give away.
yeah.
So they had the nice
Yeah,
bag to
yeah,
just
yeah.
fill it up
Yeah.
and go home with
Yes,
something great.
yeah.
So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for all your hard work
you.
and
Yeah.
for all your years of service and
thank
for
you.
being here today to
Well,
share with
thank
us.
you. And it definitely was a team effort. It required so many of our principals and students and district staff like you, our whole tech department, our food services, all of them were involved with making sure that this event helped support the Rotarians with making sure the Back to School Bash was successful. So I was glad to be a part of it.
And it was successful. And to see those families and those students there excited, it was all worth it.
Yeah.
So thanks again.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hey, I'm David Allen, back as Armchair Quarterback host.
I'm Guy Suttle from C19 TV Sports.
And I'm Rob Roop from KTCBroadcasting.com.
What's in store on the gridiron? Each week we look at all 4 Cleveland County High School football teams, Burns, Crest, Kings Mountain, and Shelby. We will look at what happened the week before and look ahead at what's coming up this week.
And we'll also discuss ACC, SEC, and Gardner-Webb college football.
And of course, the NFL and those Carolina Panthers.
So don't miss another great season of football right here on Armchair Quarterback on C19 TV and online at c19.tv.
Hi, I'm Deb Harden, host of For Your Information. The goal of our show is to educate and entertain you about all things pets throughout Cleveland County. We have various guests joining me each month to talk about dogs, cats, pigs, whatever kind of pet you can think of. Also each month, we will be joined by some furry friends looking for their forever homes. For your information each month right here on C19 TV and online at www.c19.tv.
Welcome back to School Matters, and our next guest today is Shara Miller. Again, we are talking about a back-to-school event, literacy event, that was just wonderful. It was the second annual back-to-school book bash for Cleveland County Schools, and you're with Shelby Breakfast Rotary Club, which was a major player in this event. And we're going to talk about that. But before we start into that, if you don't mind, share with our audience just a little bit about yourself and your background.
I somehow feel like that's not necessary. But thank you for the opportunity. Today, I am representing the Shelby Breakfast Rotary Club. I have been a member of the club since it started, so I'm a charter member of the club. My day job is the director of the Cleveland County Arts Council.
Yes.
And my involvement with Cleveland County Schools goes way back to a former Board of Education member. So just a little bit of involvement in a lot of places.
Yes,
so,
yes.
yeah.
And you have family who
I
are
do.
educators?
Yes, I do. I have a daughter who is an English teacher at Burns High School, and our younger daughter is, this year, she is at Jefferson Elementary. She made a big change this year after 11 or 12 years of teaching at one school. Then she has moved over to Jefferson, so first grade teacher.
So you have lots of interest in
Yeah,
the school system, and of
do.
course, great partnership with the school system through the
Yeah.
Arts Council
Absolutely,
as well.
yeah.
We have the student art show that happens every
do.
year, so
Yeah.
lots of great connections there
Yeah.
with you. But again, today we're here to talk about the Book Bash, and
Yeah.
this was the second annual event. Such a great event. talk about how it got started.
Yeah, well, I can't take all the credit, or really even a little bit of the credit, just a little bit, I guess. One of our members, Ruth Huffstetler, literally had a dream about an event where we were trying to think of an event for our club to do for the community, and she called me one morning. She said, I literally dreamed that we were having this event for children, and we were giving out school supplies, and there were bouncy houses, and there was food and all this stuff. And she said, do you think we could do that? And how do we? And we first thought at we were thinking maybe over at Graham Elementary, because it had recently closed.
The nostalgia there.
Yeah. And I said, well, let's go talk to Dr. Fisher and just see. And so we went in and talked to him. And as we were explaining what we wanted to do, he said, what if we focus on literacy? And what if y'all give away books to every child that comes? And we said, sure.
Wonderful.
Yeah. How do we do that? And so, we talked through some things and decided that, yes, this wonderful partnership between the Rotary Club and the school system, because we didn't have the connections to be able to order books or the proper books, and we really didn't. We could handle the other stuff, the other things like the bouncy houses and trying to line up volunteers and raise money. Because the Rotary Club does raise the money for this, and we did get a wonderful grant from the Hospice Foundation this year. And so it was sort of like it was meant to be between the school system and the club, and when Jill got involved to be able to help us with ordering the books, then it just worked out. The night before the first event last year, Ruth and I were talking because we didn't know how many to expect, and we thought, if we have 100 people, we'll be happy. And just because we didn't know, and lo and behold, we had over 1,000 that first year.
That's
and
incredible.
It really was. It really was. We were blown away. We did, towards the end of that evening, we ran out of books and we ran out of food, but we made it through the night so that most families got some of both. But the response from the community was great. The response from the community partners that wanted to be a part of it was great, and so we knew that we could it could be a wonderful thing.
Got to do it again.
Yeah, we had to. And so
Annual event.
Yeah.
You touched on the funding earlier. You said that you received a grant from the Hospice Foundation. Do you want to talk more about that? Was that the only funding source?
No,
or?
that was the largest funding
Okay.
source for this year, and it was specifically for we knew that because of the big response last year that we were anticipating even more children, families coming this year, and we would have to have more money to be able to purchase the books. And so we do have other business sponsors in the community, and then some of the Rotarians, but we did apply for a grant from the Hospice Foundation specifically to be able to purchase all the books that we got. And so we will be applying again, as well as for other grants through the Rotary Foundation and some other places, because we do see this continuing. And the more people we have come, the more books we need, the more food we need. And we want it to be a fun event. And our goal from the beginning was for it not to cost anything. So, the school system provided food that we paid for, but it was free to the families. And, we didn't want the families to have to buy anything if they didn't want to.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It truly was such a great event. And you touched on the attendance. You mentioned last year there were 1,000. So talk about this year's attendance, and you mentioned too the reaction from the attendees. So touch on those things.
Well, the reaction was great. I mean, yes, they came because they could get free books, but there was other information there, and with the bouncy houses and informational booths for the parents and then activities for the children to do. You know, they really did enjoy it. The attendance, like I said, we didn't keep track last year, you know, but based on the number of books we gave away and the number of hot dogs that were
Yes,
eaten,
yes.
we know that there were over 1,000. And then this year, between 1,200 and 1,500.
Wow.
So it
Grow.
didn't grow, and we really do anticipate it growing again. And I think one of the neat things about it too, because it is a partnership between the Rotary Club and the school system, is that we held it, we will hold it again on the grounds of Cleveland County Schools, and it's a lovely place out there under the trees. And you know, some folks talked about maybe we needed to grow it even bigger and move it somewhere else, but I don't think so. It needs to be there. It needs to be. It is an educational event. It
Right.
really is.
It is such a pretty setting and nice shade,
Yep.
and it was just the ideal location,
Yeah.
is the ideal location, especially with this year even closing off the street, just
Yeah, that really helped
spread
give
out
us a
more,
little bit
yeah.
more room. And one of the reasons for doing that too was that, you know, some of our community partners were the law enforcement and our first responders. And, you know, one of the goals was to make it so that children would see them as friends
Yes.
and helpers and the heroes that they are, and not be afraid when the police come to their neighborhood.
So we've already said you do plan to host the event
Yeah,
again
yeah.
next year. Any additional plans? Any thoughts about what the next one might look like?
Well, we have set the date.
Oh, good.
It's, see, this year it was August 1st, so I guess next year it'll be August 2nd. It's that first Thursday in August. I believe that's the 2nd.
First
So,
Thursday in August.
yeah.
So we can go ahead and mark our
That's it.
calendars now. That's awesome.
That's it. And if there are other community partners out there that want to be involved, you know, with their information booths, then we invite them to reach out to us
Yeah.
and let us know.
How should they do that? Should they call the school system or contact the Rotary Club, or what's your
Well,
advice?
Rotary Club doesn't have a phone number or a direct email. They could contact me. They could call
Okay.
the school system, but probably reaching out to me would be
Okay.
fine, and I can direct them whichever way they need to go.
Okay, so reach out to you at the Cleveland County Arts Council.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep,
wonderful.
that'll be fine.
Wonderful. Anything else you'd like to share about the books themselves or the event, or?
Well, you know, the event was absolutely wonderful, and I think it definitely shows the good things that can happen when groups of people are willing to step outside of their area and work together to make the good things happen and to make it even better, you know, because our Rotary Club could not have done it on its own at all. School system maybe, but I think it's even better with the connections in the community and just the excitement that it brought. So
We say that all the time. It's the partnerships that make our schools and our teachers
yeah,
successful, is to have those partnerships. Absolutely crucial.
it is. It really
So I'm
is.
glad you brought that up.
Yeah, so I guess my last thing would be just a big thank you to Cleveland County Schools and to everyone involved, because it was a tremendous success, and we look forward to next year.
It was, I know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all your hard work and your support in so many ways. We
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching this edition of School Matters. See you next time.
School Matters is a production of the Communications Department of the Cleveland County School System. For additional information, visit our website at www.clevelandcountyschools.org.